very good evening to you and welcome to our program Equal Partners, and this is our second episode, and this is in line with a campaign initiated by the National Committee on Women of the Ministry of Women and Child Development, collaborated by Men Engage Alliance and supported by the United Nations Development Programme. And on today's episode as well, we have two panelists. So let me introduce our panelists today. We have Ms. Vindhya Fernando, who is the Head of Advisory Services Chrysalis and also a member of the Men Engage Alliance. Very good to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good evening. And we also have Kulunu Jayamanne, Coordination and Partnerships Associate to the UNDP.
Thank you for having me.
Good evening to you, and we welcome you to the program. And on today's program, we will have two videos like our previous program. And on our first episode, we focused on loving father, loving husband. And today, our first video would be on loving son.
What are the most common sayings that we have heard about boys? Boys will be boys. Boys are mischievous anyway. We can't discipline them. Boys don't cry. Boys need to grow up to be breadwinners, huh? But how do we present boys to our society? When my son was born, I had the same questions. How do I make him grow up to be a loving son? As a father, this was a challenge for me as well. But I accepted the challenge. In a society that had already defined my son, I made an effort to raise a loving son. This is my son. He's a very sensitive person. Recently, there was a small issue in school where a friend had called him a girl, which made him angry. His anger was because the value and feelings of women had been underestimated in society. However, I told him, my darling son, what you have learned will benefit you more when you grow up than your friends teasing you right now. Discipline, patience, and managing one's feelings are things that we need to develop as humans, irrespective of male or female gender stereotypes. Due to teaching him these things at a young age, my son has grown up to become a loving son and a sensitive young man. When he gets angry, he doesn't scream and misbehave like most other boys do. He tries to discuss things with each other and resolve his issues. He strives to be an example to other boys around him. He is very good at his household chores. He helps his mother and father with any work to be done in the kitchen or outside the house. We don't need to ask him to do so. He takes the initiative by himself and does it right away. He washes his own clothes, and most of the time, my son does his own work in a very neat and tidy manner. He even keeps his room clean. As a father, that makes me very happy. I was concerned after observing the behavior of youth in this day and age, worried that my son would turn out to be the same. However, as a father, I gave my loving son the necessary guidance by telling him beautiful and inspiring stories that would teach him good life lessons. I taught him how to behave and act in a way that is not harmful or abusive to others. Due to these actions, today he is a loving son. He is a son that doesn't objectify women by using degrading phrases. My son is a gift to our society and is loved by all.
Well, it's time for us to take a look at the second video. The first one was on loving son, and now it's on orderliness.
Today we are going to talk about cleanliness and tidiness. Most of the time, who is asked to be neat and tidy? Isn't it girls? What do we say if we see a boy who is neat and tidy? Oh, look at him, he is so neat, just like a girl. So we are programmed to think that cleanliness and tidiness is a part and parcel of being a girl, and being messy and untidy are characteristics of a boy. Now, don't you think these are characteristics that should be adopted by everyone as humans? We accept that. However, people in our society still believe that boys are born to be untidy and are not able to work in an orderly manner, that a house needs a woman to manage and keep it in order. Look at this boy's room for an example. It is very untidy. In contrast, look at this girl's room, which is very neat. Even their mother would constantly say that boys are generally untidy. From a young age, we teach our girls to be clean, neat, and do things with patience and sensitivity. But we don't give this teaching to our young boys. Then we should say men should also be concerned about cleanliness, tidiness, and their health. This is especially true when learning how to do any work in an orderly manner, to keep your surrounding environment clean. It is also important to consume healthy food and lead a healthy life. We must also understand that being clean, neat and tidy, or doing things in an orderly manner, it's not subject to whether you are a girl or a boy. These are things important to lead a good life. Also, we have seen many who consume junk food on the side of the road on their way home from work, become obese and struggle with illnesses such as diabetes, high cholesterol levels. In order to avoid this, we must all take steps to lead a healthy life by being mindful of our health and well-being. After all, who wouldn't like a man who is clean and does things in an orderly manner? You should also become a man that strives to be healthy, clean and orderly.
So today's discussion will revolve around these videos. The first one was on loving son, and then the next was on orderliness, and I think we have a lot to talk about it. So we have two panelists. As I introduced the panelists to you before, I'm going to focus the first question to Kulunu. Kulunu, tell us about your views on this specific video. I mean, growing up as a male, I'm sure you have your point of view now.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. So first up, thank you for all of you to taking up this initiative and getting this message across to the masses as well. And today also we saw two videos, one on a loving son. First up, so talking of my personal experience, I grew up in a household of two boys, me and my younger brother. So although my upbringing was very rich and nurturing, but some of the gender stereotypes that applies to male and female or men and women, the status quo wasn't challenged, I would say. Some of the toys we played with or the colors we wore, all that was in line with some of the gender stereotypes that were there in society at that time.
So men like blue, and you're in blue today.
You could say that, yes. Yes. So the point is that although some of those stereotypes might not look as harmful or maybe damaging, what happens is that when that stereotypes persist and perpetuate, it holds back both men and women from thriving in life and in work. So what happens is that we do not empathize, we do not identify with the struggles of the other genders, other individuals of their own gender who feels different or who thinks different and are held back by these stereotypes. So we need to be more empathetic, and that is why raising a loving son was brought out as a model. How you can be a loving son by yourself, and then moving forward, when you teach that to your future generations, how do you raise a loving son, taking that experience forward.
So we can have a different view now. We have a lady also beside us. So Vindhya, why don't you tell us your reflections on these videos you just watched?
So let me share a few thoughts about me being a woman. I've had many identities in the past, and also having one now around. I've been stereotyped as well in my life when I was growing up, as a student, as a daughter growing up, and as a partner, spouse, and now more as a mother. I mean, there are certain expectations of the society that you have to live up to, and these are not necessarily easy to be a part of. And to live up to those expectations is, it can be quite challenging. And now I experience that a lot more. If I may speak of my experiences as a mother, I've got 2 children, a girl and a boy. Although I do provide equal opportunities, it could be equal, toys. They both have exposure to stereotyped male and female type toys, but the conditions at home might be the same, but the moment that they go out to the society, they are being conditioned again. They've been put into boxes of how a girl should be and how a boy should be, which I think is quite damaging, because it really hinders their full potential when they are really growing up. So coming back to the videos, the loving son, saying the word loving, I think it needs to be stressed on because I'm sorry.
We are used to hearing it, like we say loving mother, loving daughter, but when it comes to son, we don't generally hear the word
exactly.
loving.
We don't generally do that because we're not used to it. We've not been exposed as the loving part, because men shouldn't always be aggressive. They should not always be demanding, and then should not always hold power. They also can be very tender and loving, and
they have the right to cry.
Exactly, they have the right to cry and show their emotions. And when you don't give them the opportunity to do so, they themselves also being penalized, or really finding it difficult to live up to those standards or expectations of the society. So we have to really look at it from a woman's point of view, but and also a man's point of view. So I think these videos are great to send that message across.
And in this video, we also noticed that we speak of cleaning the room, arranging the room. With the pandemic around, I think what happens if we are stereotyped? What happens to a household with no woman? Exactly.
So how would you, because I think everybody is conditioned in life or stereotyped in life a certain way, right? And when you do, and context is also changing. The days that we live in are changing. It's not how we used to live, and the demands, the support structures, it's not there anymore in the future. So how do you really get men and women, or let's talk about girl child and the boys, to really focus on how do you really take care of yourselves and then really break through those stereotypes?
And your thoughts on it, Kulunu?
Absolutely. I think when you talk about engaging as a man, I think gender equality and closing the gender gap is often seen as a women's issue, but it's not the case. It affects both genders, and also if we are to, arrest and roll back some of the inequalities that women face, men need to engage more constructively, more empathetically, more loving, in a more loving manner. So that is why I feel like when a society is, of course, configured in a way that it favors you, where women are discriminated against, you are in somewhat of a comfort zone, where males don't, go the next step, where you are untidy and your room is a mess, and your mother or your partner picks up after you. That is disempowering, demeaning to women, and that is why we need more men to engage more constructively and really have that thought agency in terms of acting on gender and acting on these issues that make us, all of us, equal partners.
Exactly. I think that video did highlight a lot about being neat and orderly, and how sometimes people might think it's not the norm for a guy to be like that, but I think everybody really does like a neat person, isn't it? So tell us a bit about the how social media has helped in terms of, I think we see a lot of people getting into talking about equal rights and all that. So how can we build it through social media, and what can all our younger generation do in terms of spreading this message across? Are we doing it right?
I think information is key, right? And to really develop an individual, you really need to strengthen their capacities, and to do that, information is one of the main sources, right? And so social media does play a big role, a major role in that. Giving the correct messages or getting the correct messages from the social media is extremely important. So I'm hoping in one way that this message through the social media will get will catch up, and then it will trend, and there'll be a lot of followers, so that the message will come, message will get to the young people as we want to. And it's at the same time, while information and messaging is key, it is also you need to really understand the context in which you live, because there are structures that really prevent you from exercising the information that you get, right? You get information, and then if you want to act on it, there are peers, there are classmates or schoolmates, or you have families that might tell you, no, you can't do it. So how do you really change?
Back to bullying as well.
Yes, I mean, even if you don't go that far, simple thing like if somebody watches this video and wants to clean the room, a boy, and then sometimes a mother or somebody might say, no, that's okay, fine, I can pick it up from you. So it's equally important that you really get the message across to your friends, your partners, your family, so that while the information that you got from this campaign, the correct information, while you try to exercise that, there are people, there are structures that will also come along with you to change and really change the attitudes of the people, so that you can take this message forward and spread it.
Exactly, everything starts at home, we say. So Kulunu, tell us, as a guy, I'm sure you can spread this word across to every man who's tuned in, every woman who's tuned in, because this is basically not just about a women's right, it's about equal partners, about men trusting women with problems. I mean, sometimes they don't tell them. They feel like, hey, the woman can't help me with it. They're not capable. That happens too, isn't it? So what would you like to
Sometimes,
tell?
yes. As you were speaking about social media as well, this set of videos, they are on YouTube, they are on your media. So that's where we create a positive conversation. We always speak about how social media, how men can engage, how women can engage, and how social media can be a tool for a lot of issues that we seek to address. But then that's where the positive conversation needs to happen. Now you always say that change happens at the individual level, but not necessarily. But when you internalize some of this messaging, like Vindhya said, you can take it on to these platforms of conversation. Really talk to your peers, create a conversation around how, what is your room like? Do you talk to your partner, your mother, your sister about your own issues? What is the situation like at your home? Or how can we promote positive practices where men and women are recognized as equal partners? So my job as a man, my friends, my colleagues, would be to create that positive conversation, not take a step back. Really walk the talk in terms of, if I talk about these videos and this campaign right now here, that doesn't stop there. I need to take it to my circles, take it to online spaces, and really spread the message. That is where some of the other work, not just the gender-based work, but other work from UNDP, engaging a lot of young people through a large program that we have called Hackadev on young leadership, young innovation and entrepreneurship, is where we really challenge those stereotypes, really get men and women to engage together, and really get women and young girls into certain spaces that are not stereotypically theirs, like technology, like entrepreneurship, really creating positive spaces where women and men are both recognized as equal partners, and at a very young age, so that they internalize that, they create that positive environment in society, and they take that forward to the next generations.
And I also think it's important to talk about it at school level, then again at home, and I mean, it's already there all over social media, it's just a click away, but still it's sometimes people find it hard to accept it, or maybe it's the comfort zone. Everything's comfortable the way it is, so maybe it's that. So what would your message be, Vindhya?
Well, I think, like I said before, everyone, every human being has been exposed or been conditioned, been stereotyped at some point in their life, and we all live with biases, right? So it's important that we really take a moment and understand those biases that we are living with, and then have an open conversation maybe with your partner or with your colleague, so that with that open conversation you can really recognize how you could change. Simple things, starting off with honest conversations is something that we can do. And also not forgetting that the equal partner, so that you have to have two individuals when you say partners, right? And it's important that you are being, while being honest, but also making sure that you pay attention to the other and really understand them for the diversities that they individually have, because one individual can have many diversities, right? And for me, if you take it as a mother, as a woman, as it could be the type of work that I do, so how do you really understand the individual within that space, and having that open conversation is what I can say.
Kulunu, we have come towards the latter part of the show, so what would your message be to your friends, to men out there?
Absolutely. For men, I would say engaging is not enough. What you have to do, take the next step. So really getting this message out to the society, but by example, living and breathing that values that make women and men equal partners. And hey, it will benefit you as a man, it will benefit women, and it will benefit all. So I would say equal partnerships is all about, not just about women's issues as we spoke about before, but really creating a positive environment that both women and men and other genders and all people of all identities, many identities of many hats, can thrive in a positive environment where there is no conflict, no discrimination, and really opportunities are open and not boxed in, like Vindhya said, not stereotyped. And you are your own, you have the agency to really decide your future and the next generations. So really go out and take this message forward, but actions as well. Live it by example.
Action speaks louder,
yes,
isn't it? Vindhya, since we are the latter part of the show and come to the final few minutes of the program, as a mother, can you give us a few examples on how you intend to bring them up in this society so that they know what exactly is equal partners?
I think giving them the opportunity is something that I will always do. Giving them the equal opportunities. Having a girl and a boy at home, it could be their toys wise, education wise, and also helping them understand, and helping them understand that, helping them to appreciate and respect the work of men and women, and also helping them understand that you can also challenge these things as you grow up. That is a message that I would want to give them as they grow up, and for that, providing that opportunity or providing the space is what I think I will do.
That's as a mother. So I'm sure as a woman you can certainly tell what you expect from a man as equality.
I think it boils down to respect at the end, right? How would you really expect your partner to respect you, respect your thoughts, your decisions, is something that I would really want. And I think for all women, because we are being sometimes conditioned, and we've been living in this world where the society defines who a woman wants to be, and breaking through that is difficult. So in that context, helping women to take that decision, helping might be the wrong word, but how do you really be with them, encourage them, but also for them to be sensitive as well on the decisions that women take for themselves, and be okay to accept that, is something that I would look for in a man, and I really hope that everyone watching will do the same.
Thank you very much. That's a very strong message. Thank you so much, Kulunu, for being a part of the show. Thank you, Vindhya.
Welcome.
Nice
Thanks for
having
having
you both.
us.
And with that, it's time for us to wrap up this episode. See you again on our next episode, Equal Partners.